I took a simple security job with one rule. Now I know what they did to the last guard. The first rule of my new job was to forget I had a conscience. I needed the money. That's the start of every bad story, isn't it? 3 years inside for aggravated assault teaches you a lot about need. It teaches you how the world looks at you when you get out. The way their eyes slide right past you, like you're a ghost already. So when a Dr. Annalise Adler offered me a night security gig with a salary that could actually pay rent, I didn't ask questions. Her lab was in a boneyard of dead factories on the edge of town, a place the city had forgotten. Rusting fences, shattered windows, and weeds reclaiming the asphalt. I pulled up at 9 p.m. Sharp, the engine of my shitty car coughing in the silence. She was waiting for me under the single buzzing floodlight, a tall, severe woman in a pristine lab coat. Her hair was pulled back so tight it looked painful. "The rules are simple, Mr. Orlov," she said, her voice without warmth. "They are not suggestions. We had an issue with the last man's comprehension." She didn't wait for me to respond. Rule 1. No one enters this facility unless I am present to authorize it. No exceptions. Rule 2. Nothing leaves this facility, ever. That second part snagged in my brain. Nothing? Not no one? But her eyes, pale and sharp as chips of ice, dared me to ask. "I was assured you understand the importance of following instructions without debate," she said. That was her way of saying she'd read my file. She knew I could handle myself. She knew I was the kind of person you hire when you need a problem to stay a problem and not become a headline. Understood, I managed, the word feeling dry in my mouth. No one in, nothing out. A flicker of a smile touched her lips, but it never reached her eyes. She led me inside. The air smelled of bleach and something else, something metallic and vaguely organic, like an italic, and vaguely organic, like an old butcher shop. The main hall was sterile, white tile, and fluorescent lights. There was a break room, my little security office, and the main entrance. And then there was the fourth door. Heavy steel, with a high-tech keypad glowing a soft red. "This is the laboratory," she said, gesturing to the steel door. "Your primary function is to ensure this door remains undisturbed. You do not have access. You do not need access. You are a sentinel, nothing more." She left me in the security office, a cramped room with a bank of monitors showing the dead, empty property lines. The first few hours were a lesson in absolute boredom. I watched static-laced feeds of chain-link fences and listened to the hum of the building's life support. I scrolled through my phone, the silence pressing in. Around 3 a.m., I went to the break room for a cup of coffee that tasted like battery acid. As I crossed the main hall, passing that steel door, I heard it. It wasn't a grunt. It was a sound like a wet sheet being slowly torn in half, a thick, fibrous ripping. It was followed by a low, choked gurgle, like someone trying to breathe through a throat full of mud. I stopped dead, my heart kicking against my ribs. The sound came again. Rip, gurgle, gasp, then silence. I stood there for a full minute, listening. Nothing, just the hum of the vents. I told myself it was equipment, pipes, old buildings make noises. But I didn't believe it. When Dr. Adler arrived at 6 sharp, her lab coat was still perfect. She asked if there were any incidents. I looked her right in her cold, clear eyes and said no. That sound wasn't my business. My business was the paycheck. As I was getting in my car, a beat-up pickup truck rattled into the lot. A hulking man I'd come to know only as Ivor got out. He was covered in dirt, his boots caked in mud. He didn't say a word to Dr. Adler, just hauled 2 massive black canvas bags from the truck bed. They looked heavy. They dripped a dark, viscous fluid onto the asphalt. The nights fell into a routine. The silence, the monitors, the bad coffee, and the sounds. I started listening for them. Sometimes it was the tearing noise. Other times it was a low, constant moan, a vibration I could feel through the soles of my shoes. There was more than one, maybe 2, maybe 3 distinct tones of misery, a fucked up choir of suffering. It started to eat at me. What happened to the last guy? The one who couldn't comprehend the rules. In the back of the bottom desk drawer in the security office, I found a dog-eared employee logbook. Tucked inside the back cover was a faded photograph. A smiling man with kind eyes, a woman, and two little kids at a park. On the back, in neat handwriting, it said, Mateo Rojas, first day, 8/12. Mateo. How was your night, Mr. Orlov? Dr. Adler would ask every morning. Quiet, I'd lie. And every morning, Ivor would arrive with his dripping bags. My mind churned. What the hell kind of research needed a constant supply of, whatever that was? 2 weeks in, the sounds changed. I was doing my nightly ritual, ear pressed against the cold steel of the lab door. The usual chorus of moans was there, but underneath it, something else fought its way through. A voice. It was hoarse, shredded, but it was forming words. A desperate, repeating whisper. End me. Over and over. End me. Please. End me. I couldn't sleep when I got home. The words were burned into my skull. This wasn't research. This was a torture chamber. The name Mateo Rojas wouldn't leave me alone. I typed it into my laptop. The first hit wasn't a social media profile. It was a community page. A GoFundMe. A banner across the top read, Help us find Mateo Rojas. I clicked. There were pictures of him, the same kind eyes from the photo in the logbook. There were videos from his wife, her face wrecked with grief, begging for any information. He was a father of 2. He'd vanished 3 months ago after leaving for his night shift at a private security job. His car was found abandoned a mile from the industrial park. A cold dread, heavy and real, settled in my gut. I started digging into Dr. Annalise Adler. She'd been a star, a leading mind in cellular regeneration at a prestigious university. Dozens of papers, awards, grants. Then, about 5 years ago, it all stopped. She was quietly dismissed after a massive scandal involving unsanctioned human trials. Her focus? Recombinant DNA and interspecies tissue grafting. The pieces started slamming together in my head. I was driving back to the lab that night, my hands shaking on the wheel, when my phone rang. Dr. Adler's name flashed on the screen. Where are you? Her voice was different, not cold, but brittle, strained. There's been a situation. 5 minutes out, I said, my foot pressing harder on the gas. When I screeched into the lot, she was standing outside, her face a mask of fury. Her 2 assistants were pale and trembling behind her. A specimen is loose, she hissed, the words tight and sharp, not a subject. A specimen. What? It breached containment. It's on the property. Find it. Bring it back. She pointed a trembling finger toward a narrow alley between the lab and the derelict warehouse next door. Now. I grabbed the heavy mag light from my car and ran. The alley opened into a field of rubble and weeds. I swept the beam with the flashlight across the ground and found the trail. It wasn't just blood. It was streaks of glistening tissue, chunks of something gray and pulpy, and it left a smell in the air like ozone and rotting meat. My heart hammered against my ribs. Part of me screamed to get back in my car and just drive, keep driving until this whole city was a memory. But I kept following the trail. At the far edge of the property, near the rusted fence line, I saw it. A shape huddled on the ground, twitching. As I got closer, the flashlight beam hit it, and my brain short-circuited. It couldn't process what I was seeing. It had the general shape of a man, but it was all wrong. The limbs were asymmetrical, one arm long and thin, ending in crude, fused fingers, the other short, thick, and muscular. Its skin was a nightmare quilt of textures, some pale and human-like, others gray and leathery, stitched together with thick black sutures and surgical staples. It turned its head toward the light. The face was swollen and distorted, stretched unnaturally over the skull beneath. But it was a face I recognized. The kind eyes were gone. One was a milky, dead orb. The other was wide, clear, and filled with a terror so profound it stole the air from my lungs. It was Mateo. His mouth worked, a thick, black fluid drooling from his lips. He tried to form a word, a name. It came out as a wet, broken sound. Lou, see. He stared at me, his one good eye pleading. The terror in it was being replaced by a flicker of recognition, of hope. He thought I was there to help. And then the whisper I'd heard through the door came from his ruined throat, a sound that will haunt me until the day I die. End me.